Hey guys, welcome back to another RSK Maths tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be explaining how you can estimate answers in maths. So this is a really useful skill. It's useful if you're in an exam and you have a answer but you need to make sure it's correct. So what you can do is sort of estimate the answer in your head so you can see if you're in a near vicinity, and that might give you more confirmation that you got your answer correct. It's useful for when you're in a real world and you need to quickly calculate lots of things added together or multiplied together. And yeah, it's just a generally really useful skill for consolidating or just strengthening or reinforcing some knowledge. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to estimate things. So let's just do a practice question. So let's say we wanted to estimate something like 74 or 73 plus 164. So obviously this is a pretty basic sum. Like, you could just use column addition and do this pretty simply. But if you just need an estimate of this, like if these were prices of items in a shopping basket, then you really don't need to be exact with it. So we can estimate this, and just to show you this sign here, this actually means approximately. So it means 73 plus 64 is approximately equal to, and then we can estimate this. So usually people recommend 1 or 2 SF when you're estimating, but it really doesn't matter. It's more to do with how you're going to make the calculation easier while still maintaining most of the information. So in this case, we can just round everything to the nearest 10. So we'll get 70 plus 160, and that's a pretty easy calculation because now we don't have to worry about any of these unit terms over here. So now this is just going to be equal to 230, just like that. So that was pretty easy, and you might also now, once you've finished that, see the 3 and 4 and just add on a 7. But like I said, this is a pretty easy sum to calculate, so estimation isn't too beneficial here. Where it is beneficial is when you start to do a bit more complicated things like multiplication and square roots. So I'll give you another example. Let's say you wanted to work out what 5.14 squared over 0.398 was. So now you can start to see that you wouldn't be able to just do this in your head. I mean, maybe you could, but most people wouldn't be able to just do this in their head. And if you need to do this quickly, then there's pretty much no chance that you're doing this quickly. So a better way to do this is, again, to estimate. And if we use the 1SF trick, so let's just write here 1SF. Again, we can move these over to here. So now this is just going to become 5 squared over 0.398. Well, that's going to round to 0.4. But again, this might be a bit... Oh, it's going to be squared. But again, this might be a bit challenging because if you want to do this, then of course you can just do 5 squared multiplied by 2/5. Sorry, 5 over 2. Got to take the reciprocal. And yeah, that would work, but still, this isn't really that useful to do in your head. So the 1SF trick is more a rule of thumb rather than a set rule, because it'd be a lot easier if we could put this to 0.5. Now we know that that's just going to times it by 2. So we can now just get the answer as 50. And since we've moved this down and increased this, we can say that this is going to be a bit more accurate, and it's not really going to be, we can't determine if it's an underestimate or overestimate because we've rounded one term down and another term up, which is good if you want to get a reasonably accurate estimate. So you can see how we were able to simplify this really easily, become like that. Now I'll just do one more example, or maybe a few more just so you guys understand, but let's say we want to get an estimate for root of 76. 78. So here, this is a really difficult thing to calculate in your head. Like, if someone could do this in their head, then you should probably send me a message, because this is really difficult to calculate square roots in your head. But you might notice that 78 is really close to 81. And we know that 81 is a perfect square, so that would be super easy. So we can say 78 is approximately equal to root of 81, and then we just know that that's going to be 9. So there we go. We've approximated root of 78 and made it equal to 9. But you can also notice that 78 is actually less than 9, so we can say with a bit more reinforcement, we can actually say it's actually less than 9. And there's our answer. So if you wanted to, for some reason, calculate root 76 as a cost, you could say it's actually going to be cheaper than 9 units or £9, $9, that kind of thing. So yeah, let's do one final calculation to put all of this into use. So let's say we want root, let's just rule all of these off. So the final calculation we're going to do is, let's say we want square root of 50.1.77 over 0.513 plus 0.26. This is our sum. And we want to estimate this. This might be important to estimate. And this might be a sort of calculation we've done in an exam, but we just want to get a ballpark figure so we know if our actual answer is going to be likely to be correct. So first of all, we can notice if we move everything to 1SF, then I cannot draw the square root. Okay, that's fine. So if we move everything to 1SF, we're going to get 50 over 0.5 plus 0.3. Now, it's important to notice that this 0.3 is actually almost negligible. Like, it's not really going to affect the sum of this too much. So what we can actually do is just round it down to 0, and that's going to make our sum far more easy, because we're going to be left with just 50 over 0.5, which we know is just going to be 50 times 2, which is just root 100. And this is a perfect square, so we can get 10. So 10 is our approximation to this sum over here. And you can just see how estimation is really useful when you want to get a rough understanding of what the answer is without actually having to go through too much effort. So you should remember 1SF as a rule of thumb, but don't stick to it. If there's an easier way, then you can use that. But don't go too overboard. Like, don't round this up to 100, because that's going to make your answer really wrong. Although since it's square root, it's not going to make it too bad. It's just going to be 10. But it's just make sure you stay within a reasonable amount of accuracy. There's a lot of subjectivity in estimation, so you'll be fine. So anyways, thanks for watching. And that was how you estimate in maths. See you guys in a future tutorial. Bye.